Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to KRSTV. This is your boy Kenny. Now remember, subscribe to my channel and click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. Also follow all the information I have in the description box as well as the comment section. Also like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. Now before I get started, let me send a special shout out to GMHC, which is Gay Men's Health Collaborative. If you are in the DMV area and would like to get tested for HIV, reach out to us at the GMHC crew to get a home testing kit. You can have the kit mailed to you, or you can call and make a same-day appointment and come to our location to pick one up. Also, if you're interested in getting set up for PrEP, which is HIV prevention, reach out to us at the GMHC crew for that as well. Also, if you're a fan of KRSTV and would like to become one of my Black Diamonds, check out my Patreon today, Black Diamonds, because in darkness, we still shine. For $3 a month, you'll get all of my content as well as special videos that will be specifically designed for my Black Diamonds. So check out my Patreon today. And also check out my YouTube partner, BK WorldTube, which is the Black Netflix. You get shows like the show that I'm reviewing here, The Have and the Have-Nots, and even RuPaul's Drag Race. So after you watch this video, check the description box in the comments section and click that link to check out BK WorldTube today. Now, this is my review of The Haves and the Have-Nots Season 8, Episode 4, and the name of this episode is The Appointment. I'm sorry this review was late. I had a lot going on last week, but I definitely watched the episode, and it was kind of like a filler episode for me, but I actually did enjoy it. So, let me begin. The episode picks up where it left off, where Jim and David finally find out that Hannah is the executor of Catherine's estate. And she was like, what was that, Jim? About what I have and have not? What you gotta say now? And pretty much they go through all the documents and they figure out that yeah, it's legit. And that damn Jim hit the roof. And he's like, I'm going to go talk to Catherine. Now, granted, he just got out the hospital, and he's on medication, and he'd been drinking. But after he found out that Hannah, you know, how he likes to refer to her as the maid, is now the executor of everything, oh, he was not taking that lying down at all. And David's trying to calm him down. He just told David, you go talk to the Malones and work on that situation. I'm gonna go talk to my damn wife. And the next thing you know, we see that Jim goes down to the jail to talk to Catherine, and he's like, what the hell, Catherine? Like, why the hell would you give Hannah the power of the state? Why would you do that? I mean, power of attorney. Why would you do that? And she's like, look, I'm being sued and I had to protect my assets. And he's like, wait till I find Marty. And she's like, I fired Marty because I'm still in here. And he was like, you know she's gonna screw you over and all of that. And she's like, wow, this really is getting to you, because now you have to ask Hannah for money. You have to ask her for everything, because yeah, he's been so racially disrespectful and has been demeaning her because of her class of life, and now she holds the keys to the whole entire castle, and Jim just can't take it. And then he's like, well, either you give me the power of attorney, or I'm gonna make her give me the power of attorney. Catherine was like, you remember the last time you went after, right? She whooped your ass. I cracked up because she hit him dead in his wound. And she's like, I was like, that gave me so much life. That was hilarious. Cause like, yeah, you keep going fucking with Hannah. Hannah gonna put you 6 feet under. Like, cause Jim just think he's this incredible Hulk and that he's just gonna continue to intimidate her. Hannah's to this point where Hannah will catch a body at this point. So then after he visits Catherine, he goes to meet with the accountants, John and Don. And he calls himself trying to bully them and everything. And he pretty much asks, can he get a loan for $500,000? He was like, look, in order for you to do that, you would have to get Hannah's signature on that. And that just makes him even more mad. And he was like, look, we can't do anything. I mean, because of your last business failure, you've ruined a lot of relationships. And he's like, well, what about Lloyd? And they were like, well, the only reason why Lloyd was doing anything was a favor to Catherine. So now it's starting to reel even more. He doesn't have shit. And he can't take it. So he's even fuming even more because normally he can get these accountants to do his dirty bidding, but now they don't even have any power, you know, to give him anything because Hannah is in control of everything and Jim is just reeling. And I was here for it. I was like, that's exactly what you get, you piece of shit. Next, I'm going to talk about Madison and Kobe. Kobe gets into bed with Madison while Madison is asleep. And I'm just like, really, Kobe? But that's what they do. They spoon and they talk to each other. But, you know, Madison was like, you need to get the hell out of this bed because you know Jeffrey's coming back. And then he was like, oh, so you're really feeling Jeffrey. Where is he anyway? And Madison tells him that he went to go see his friend. He's like, oh, do you believe him? And he was like, well, yeah, I believe him. You know, after all, I mean, but then he was like, well, it's funny, you didn't believe me. And he's like, yeah, I didn't believe you. And it turns out that you were a lying whore. And then not only that, I caught you in 12 or 13 more lies when we were together. And then he notices that Kobe's in pain, and he said that he had a fight with a John, which was Tanner's ass, and he molly-whopped Tanner's ass, and I was here for that. And he was saying that, you know, why are you doing this? You know, like, I really worry about you. He's like, well, look, I'm having fun. Lay off. And he's like, well, what about your art? You know, so we find out that Kobe's a painter. He's like, man, paintings are only worth something after you're dead. But I'm having fun and I'm enjoying this. I'm like, yeah, Kobe, but it may lead to your demise. So finally Jeffrey shows up, and you can tell Jeffrey's bothered. But then like Kobe asserts him that we weren't doing anything. So Kobe goes in there to make some steaks, and they kind of kiki with each other. And Jeffrey and Madison, he pretty much asks him about him going to see Wyatt, and he just said that Wyatt is sad. I'm like, yeah, sad as hell. A sad putty cat with 9 lives, because no matter what happens, Wyatt somehow always manages to survive. Which is crazy as hell. But then Madison was like, well, hell, I gotta go see him in a few minutes, you know, because he has to do his shift at the hospital. And then Jeffrey was like, he wanted to go home, but he was like, no, won't you just stay here with Kobe, entertain him, just anything, don't have sex with him. And then pretty much, you know, of course, Jeffrey is still worried about what Veronica is going to do because he knows how evil his mother is. Next, I'm going to talk about Gretchen and Oliver. Y'all remember Gretchen? Gretchen was the piece that Charles used to mess with before he started talking to Candace. And Gretchen comes from this very rich family, but the last time they had a little rendezvous with each other, he was calling Candace's name while they were having sex. So obviously, Gretchen, you may have all that money in the world, but Candace got Charles' heart. then we see that Oliver, with his messy ass, Landon is in Savannah, on the behest of Charles to reach out to Candace. So Oliver is pretty much, running the office in Detroit. And Oliver, with his old trifling messy ass, aka I Love Coke, reaches out to Gretchen, and he's like, Landon's out of town, and won't you come over? Charles is here. And Gretchen's like, look, you need to drop this, And he's like, but think about it. If the two of you get together, then our families can really set up these power plays, and we can run everything. And then, he was like, she was like, well, if you really want this so bad, Oliver, why don't you sleep with him? And he was like, I'm not Landon. And she's like, Oliver. I was like, yeah, because Oliver is suspect. I mean, definitely when him and Landon be going back and forth, they be sounding like some tired old queens. And I mean that in an honest way. But, then he starts kind of threatening, do I need to get my dad to call your dad? And then she's like, come on, Oliver. Why do you really want this? What, you want to prove to Daddy that you can run the company? Yeah, because Oliver is a complete failure. He's pretty much a token rich kid who's used to getting his way. He's like, but I want our family to be in power. But then she tells him, like, he doesn't want to see me. The last time I saw him, he was calling, he kept talking about Candace and even was calling her name while we were having sex. He's like, what is it she has that you don't have? And she's like, I don't know, but whatever it is, I don't have it. But he convinces her to come over, and she says, okay, fine, I'm on my way. So then we see David goes down to the Iron Bone to talk to Vinny. He runs into Sandy with his old punk good-for-nothing ass. Sandy's still trying to put on that tough boy act. And I'm like, bruh, if it wasn't for you having a Malone name, David will body the living crap out of you, Sandy. You ain't meant for that life at all. All you do is use the Malone's name to bully women with your punk ass. So Vinny pretty much says, I'll see him. So David and Vinny go back into his office, and David was getting on my entire nerves in this scene because he literally was beating around the bush about this whole situation involving the $8 million in Candace, and he pretty much threw Mitch, under the bus because he said that that Candace took something from Jim, and Mitch has said that that Candace and Benny had protection of the Malone family. And of course Benny was like, so what you trying to say? You trying to say that my family's lying? And David backed down, and he ended up leaving after he dropped that bomb. But now he done put Mitch in the hot seat with Vinny, because immediately he calls Sandy, was like, Vinny, get Mitch's ass down here now. I'm like, see, I am literally getting sick of David Harrington, because he is forever being a simp for Jim Cryer. Jim is literally one of the most evil characters on this show, and David just like being a little stepping fetcher, doing all of Jim's biddings. But I think that's his idea of success, is to serve the white man, which is why Veronica never had any respect for him, and why I'm losing respect for David, because here it is, you going down to the Malones, over this $8 million that Candace stole, but like, think of all the stuff that Jim has done. But it just really got on my nerves, because I'm just getting so sick of David always trying to do Jim's bidding. Why couldn't Jim take his ass down there and talk to them and find out what's going on? He always sending you to do his errands, and you willfully let the good old little servant run down there and do everything for Jim. Makes me sick. Anyway, so then back at the jail, Catherine meets this new prisoner named Gina Watts. She's crying, and one of the other prisoners was like, shut up, bitch, because she came in there crying and everything, and her ex-husband had her arrested, and that he had her kids taken away from her. And we come to find out that her and Catherine go back and forth, and Catherine really really tries to be an aid to this woman because she's obviously distraught. And she talks about that her husband is a developer and that he has friends in the police department. He has custody of our daughters and he's molesting them. And then Catherine actually tells Gina that she reminds her of her daughter, Amanda. And then and if anything, she just like says that why is it that people with money do things like this? What judge in their right mind would give this man custody? I'm like, it'd be really funny if the judge that did it was either Jim or David. I mean, because I think David is still an acting judge. It'd be real funny that this developer, and then we come to find out that the developer was the one who pretty much did the designs for the Artesian Hotel. The whole ring. And she pretty much tells her that, yeah, I know who your husband is, but we're not friends. But it'd be real funny that either David or Jim was the judge that gave him custody of those kids. That would be crazy. Because I'm thinking there's going to be a connection there. But then she pretty much says, I'm going to help you. I still got favors in this town. And she lets her know that her mom is trying to post her bail. So we pretty much get introduced to Gina. Then we get a scene with Justin and Tanner. Justin is lying his ass off about Kobe and about Justin, and about Jeffrey, I'm sorry, about his whole interactions with them. Then they get a knock on the door, and it's Veronica's henchman, and he pretty much talks to Tanner that Veronica Harrington has a business proposition for you. And he said that, it's a good thing. She wants to meet up with you. And then Justin was like, please. He's like, please don't listen to this. She's a crazy ass bitch, And then Tanner, because he's pressed, is like, well, maybe she'll tell me something that you're not telling me. And then he was like, I'm not lying. He did this to me. I'm like, no, boo-boo. Veronica had that did to you. Remember, she called them goons, and they not only whooped your ass, but then they also ripped you a new one when you was in prison. Telling them lies. So he gives the henchman his number, and she said that she'll be calling you. Then, back at in Detroit, we see that Oliver, Charles comes out of the back room or whatever. Oliver was like, oh, Gretchen. He's like, no. Shut him immediately down. Look, I'm going to have a massage and I do not want to be disturbed. So then Oliver calls Gretchen back like, look, he doesn't want to see you. She's like, I already know that. And she's like, but I'm almost there. He's like, but she's like, look, I drove all this way. I'm coming anyway. And he's like, well, I'll have Secret Service meet you at the door. And he's like, what am I, like, a doorstop or something? Yeah, bitch. He's now the president-elect. It ain't like before where you can just drop in and drop your panties and give him what he wants. He don't even want what you got with your trifling ass. It's like, girl, he's the president-elect. He got Secret Service on detail. You just can't just walk up in there anymore. It ain't like that. Stupid ass. But I'm like, she about to find out. So then we see that the hitman goes back to Veronica, and he pretty much shows her that he got Tanner's number, and she calls Tanner. She invites him over, and I think they gonna definitely connect because both of them are extremely homophobic. But then I'm starting to question, why is Tanner so homophobic? Is because maybe he's been playing with the boys too, and he hates that in himself, and then hates it even more that he sees the same thing in his brother? Time will tell. So all of a sudden, pretty much they she pretty much invites him over and gives him, and she says she'll text him the address, and then of course she went on flirting with the hitman or whatever, and he pretty much says that, look, as long as I got my money, until I get my money, nobody will hurt you, you're good. And then, you know, so that was going on. And then Tanner pretty much let him know, like, you better be here when I get back, Justin, because if I find out something, I am going to beat the living shit out of you. So Justin is shook. So he immediately starts calling Jeffrey, and he keeps calling over and over again because he's obsessive over Jeffrey. And I'm like, you dumb ass. Did you not forget that your brother hacked your phone so he can see who you're calling? Just like you hacked Jeffrey's phone, your brother did the same thing to you. So now you're the victim in this situation. Like, Justin, it was just, Jeffrey, please call me, and he keeps calling and calling and calling. Meantime, Jeffrey is at Madison's house with Kobe, and pretty much, you know, that he discussed, like, Kobe's talking about the latest trick that he made, and that he's this boring ass guy. Little do they know they're talking about the same person. So then, next you know, we see that Jeffrey's phone keeps ringing. Kobe, being the messy bitch that he is, was like, oh, so this is the dude, the crazy officer? He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get in the middle. I'm gonna answer this shit. So he's like, and all of a sudden, Kobe answers the phone, like, hello, Jeffrey, yes. He's going to talk to your mother. She's like, oh really? He beat me. It's like, are you a battered wife? And Justin starts getting real mad, and he's like, where's Jeffrey? Where's Jeffrey? He's like, well, Jeffrey can't come to the phone right now. We're too busy having sex. And hangs up on him, and then all of a sudden you see Jeffrey all shook. You shouldn't have did that. He's like, dude, you know, why is you always shook? Like, what's going on with you? He's like, look, I deal with a lot of crazy people. And then Kobe's like, well, you need to understand that I am also one of them. I'm like, yeah, Kobe's a crazy bitch, but there's method to his crazy. But then I'm like, Kobe, you may be asking more than you can actually chew, because trust and believe that damn Veronica got a plan to fuck you up, and it's just a matter of time before we see that unfold. So then we go to the hotel with Candace and Mitch. Mitch definitely notices that Candace is glowing, which not only is indication that, you know, Mitch is in love with her, but then also the fact that Candace is pregnant. And we can tell because Candace's whole demeanor has changed. And then Benny finally comes out of the bathroom after being in there for over probably an hour or so. And then Mitch kind of clowns and was like, this is what you come out looking like after all that time in the bathroom? Really, dude? And then they pretty much said that, okay, we're going to go out to dinner. And they like, and Candace like, but you're paying. And he's like, why do I got to pay? And he's like, well, first of all, you lied to me. So, yeah, you need to make this right. So, it's cool that, you know, Mitch and Benny finally squared up and they cool. Because I'm like, dude, the fact that you was mad at Mitch like that was just really stupid. But, you know, Benny's petty as hell. So, then they get a knock on the door. And it's Landon with his old slutty ass. And you can tell immediately he is like literally turned on by Benny and Mitch. And he's there to see Candace. And Candace was like, look, just give me a minute to talk to him. So they go out in the hallway and wait for her. And then he was like, oh my God. You know, oh, those guys are so hot. And I'm like, really, Landon? Landon is such a slut. And you know, then he starts talking to her about the pregnancy test and all of that. And she was like, how did you know about all that? He found out because, you know, he got, you know, pretty much an agent working with him. And that agent is following a kill who knew about her getting the pregnancy test. And then, of course, Candace was like, oh, so this what it is? You like, did he send you here? Oh, to try to stop me from having his baby? Like, what's really going on here? And she says, I didn't take it. But she don't need to take it because she knows that she's pregnant. And we can definitely tell that she is. And she pretty much tells him to get out. And she says that, look, you know, does he know about the money? the 8 million that she stole. And he's like, no. It's like, okay, well, if anything happens to it in any way, I will go to the press. And then he was like, well, why are you here? He's like, he sent me here to check up on you. Have any reporters approached you? And she was like, no. But he lets her know that, well, they approached your mom. They wanted to talk to her and get her story, because they're trying to clean up Candace's image so that he can get the two of them back together. That's his big plan. But then she was like, you need to leave before I call my brother. And he was like, screw your brother. She's like, oh, Benny's like, no. I'm saying that I would screw your brother and that other guy. Like, oh. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, Landon, with your trifling ass. And then the episode ends. Hannah is at home, just got out the shower, putting on her pajamas, goes into the damn room, and Jim is just sitting there with the mad look. I'm like, yeah, that shit has really hit him in his gut that he no longer has any power, and Hannah has complete autonomy off of the estate. And you just see he got this mad ass look in his face. And like literally just sitting up in her shit like he's supposed to be there. I'm like, Jim ain't gonna be happy till Hannah really fuck him up. And I think Hannah is at the end of her rope with Jim to the point that she probably will kill his ass. But that's what I have, y'all. If I missed anything, get down in the comments and let me know your thoughts. So until next time, everybody, take care.